So in the last lecture, you learned that when we call a function as a standalone function outside of an object, this by default returns a reference to the global object, which is the window object, and if the strict mode is enabled, it returns undefined. In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to fix this problem, so no matter how we call the walk function, this will always return a reference to this person object. So one thing that might be new to you is that in JavaScript, functions are objects. So here, person.walk is actually an object. Don't believe me? Let me show you. So dot, look, these are all the members of the walk object. So every function in JavaScript is an object with these members. We've got this method here, bind, and we can use this method to bind a function to an object. What do I mean by this? So when we call this, note the first argument is called this arg. What we pass here as an argument will determine the value of this. In this case, if I pass this person object here, the bind method will return a new instance of this walk function and set this to point to this person object. So now when we call this walk function, we will see this person object on the console. Let's have a look. Save the changes back in the browser. Look, the bind method fixed our problem. So let's quickly recap. Functions in JavaScript are objects. They have properties and methods we can use. One of the important methods that you see in a lot of React applications is the bind method. With the bind method, we can set the value of this permanently. So when we call bind on the walk function, we get a new walk function, and in that walk function, the value of this is based on the argument that we pass to the bind method. So because here we're passing the person object as an argument, we'll get a walk function that is always attached to this person object. And that's why when we call it here, without a reference to the person object, we'll still see the person object on the console.